I like this lighting that I accidentally came up with here because it's dramatic. And I had a lot of fun yesterday. Was it yesterday? It's all a blur with Russell. And he and I drew a set of drawings. In my case, a set of drawings. In his case, one drawing or two, I can't remember, of the turtles all the way down concept of Hindu belief of what the world is on the backs of on four columns that are each on a elephant. The elephant is standing on a turtle, a giant turtle, and what's the turtle on? Asks some smart aleck in the back of the classroom, and the teacher says, well, another turtle. And that smart aleck says, well, what's that turtle standing on? Another bigger turtle. And the smart aleck continues to be alecky, and the teacher gets exasperated and says, they're turtles all the way down. And so we were drawing turtles all the way down. And I drew more turtles, but I didn't draw them all the way down, except I came up with a clever way of making it work. But Russell was not happy with that solution. With my theory. But what I would like to do is do more of those dialogues with other artists or other pen collectors that are a little bit more focused, where we try to dissect or create or do something that is more directed than a general sort of free-for-all, which are a lot of fun too. I think they're more fun when you're part of the conversation than just watching it or listening to three or four of us talk about things. So I think I'm gonna change the format a little bit, or put those more gossipy. I don't want to say gossipy because that's not quite right, but they can get gossipy, and that gossip is fun. But the unstructured ones with more people, I think I will have a separate playlist for those, where people can watch that if they'd like, and if they don't, then that's fine too. I do find that when I create if I have a 2-hour long video where there's a bunch of people talking about a bunch of different things, mainly pens, but it goes on and back and forth. And sometimes there might be this much of the entire video that actually has an interesting chunk to it. And then there might be this much of the video that has another interesting chunk that has nothing to do with this one. It might do with movies, and this might do with a particular story involving something. I don't know what. I'm trying to think of something that actually is interesting that happens to me, but it may be something that's completely unrelated to anything else I've ever recorded or talked about. And this might have value by itself without having to watch all 3 hours of the stream. You just watch, this 10-minute section or this 25-minute section or whatever. So I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to capture these sections. I I don't know how, if I can do that using YouTube Studio or something, but I may just try at the outset of my videos to have them more pointed. And what I'll do is I'll talk to people beforehand and say, I'm going to be talking with FX Technol about Schaefer fountain pen naming systems, which I don't know anything about, but he might be able to explain it to me where I understand. And maybe I could see if one or two other people would be willing to be in the conversation with us. I wish I could take myself out of the conversation, because often in these conversations, I don't have the expertise that other people do. I may have the pens, but maybe what I could do is, have a close-up of the pen, and so the whatever this is, the screen can be divided in four. Here's my pen here, or the close-up of the pen that I'm providing, and then you've got the three talking heads here discussing what it is about this pen that's fun. That might be a way to do it. So, and that, my voice can show up. Sometimes people like seeing the talking head, and some people like not seeing the talking head, because it's not that it's not a pretty head. The heads are always pretty, but it's, for many of us, it's more interesting seeing what we're doing with the pen or what we're making with our hands than what we're saying with our mouth. But sometimes you need the eyes rolling, the hair being pulled out, the other things that we do here when our heads are showing. I like this pen. This is a pen that I had sent to FX Technol, the aforementioned FX Technol, and I don't know why I sent it to him, because it wasn't even remotely correct, but I sent it to him anyway. But it has a black cap. It's supposed to have a black barrel, or it would have a blue front and a blue cap. But let's just pretend this is designed by the same designer that made the Pelican, with the black cap and a black section and that green striped transparent barrel, which I never really quite understood. Never really liked that pen for that reason. Like, why don't you use the green on the cap? Yes, I understand what you're doing, but it just didn't, the logic of that design didn't work for me. But this pen, which no one's really going to want this pen the way it is because of its two-tonedness, but it really has a sweet nib. And normally I don't like these kinds of nibs, but it just really, it's very, very sharp. It makes me want to compute pi. God, I had the weirdest dream last night. I dreamt of a wedding, a client that I was doing a wedding invitation for. And this is a fictitious client, and the clients, I was a guest at the wedding, and the bride had been married before and had a child of some sort who they named Pi. And I said, if you're naming them Pi, you can call them 3.1416 etc. for short. And that was a joke that she appreciated, and I giggled at. One of the guests at the wedding was Mitch McConnell, and he got up to give some sort of speech, and it was politically charged. It was an advertisement for the Trumpers. Just awful dream. Anyway, what was I going to say? This pen would be the one that would be used to do the pi 3.14159 whatever, etc. This would do the etc. part. It just has that look of being exact to the umpteenth decimal point. That's what this pen, that's what this part of this pen wants to do. The other part of the pen, it doesn't, I don't care about it, because this is busy doing the umpteenth decimal point. So there's something, I don't get annoyed looking at the funny design, this weird, this is looking at the front here where it kind of comes down. It's a very strange design. When you think of a normal pen design, it has, this sort of stepped up thing and a thing here. It reminds me, this sort of design reminds me of cars. Now, if you have a car, here's the front of the car. Here's the wheel, here's the trunk. Most of the car from here to about here makes sense in terms of how it's designed. But it's this stuff that they do back here with the how to either tart this up or how to make the lines, they do this sometimes, or the window comes back like this, and they have to have a little extra bit of trim here to make that window. It's this sort of weird, creepy part of a car. This is the creepy part of a car right here. Of all the parts of the face, for example, if you think of a human face, eye, nose, mouth, etc. This is the nostril part of the face. It's like the part that is kind of ugly and weird, and they try to do things to make this work, and I don't know why they can't just make it work, like that, a triangle, have it be a wedge, a backwards wedge or something. But there's all sorts of shit that they do right back here that makes me crazy. And in the 50s, when I'm from, they would have the two-toned top of the car, and then there was a tone down here at the bottom of the car, and then sometimes there would be a little thing here that would chrome trim, and then this would be a different color than the bottom and the top. And it was this stuff back here where they decided they needed to be tricky, and that's what this reminds me of. It just has that look to it that you've got this shape down here. It's like a dolphin. A dolphin has sort of this bird-like head, but there's this little extra bump that usually happens on animals, which they need to chew their food or whatever they're doing with that bump. So anyway, I just find it interesting. I find it funny. I mean, a normal nib like this is very elegant. The Hofmeister kink on BMWs is wonderful. I don't know what that even means. What is a Hofmeister kink? See, this one has this sort of ski slopey top view, and then it comes down, and then it does this. This is a more elegant, streamlined look than the other one. Jimmy, have you ever been here before? In this, I don't remember seeing your name. Bynum Hofmeister kink. I don't know what that means. Do I have to Google that? I'll write that down. Hofmeister kink on the BMW. Many times. Why don't I recognize your name? Do you have a new picture or something? A different picture? Have you ever typed with me before? Sometimes if I'm looking down at my paper, I don't look at what people are typing. So is Hofmeister kink? Describe what that is. You usually just watch. Okay. You're a voyeur, not a participant. It's like the line from Being There where our hero, the Peter Sellers character, is taken to be this genius when he's actually just barely functional as a human, but he likes watching TV. And someone at a party invites him to a three-way. Or he's a gay man, and he says to the Peter Sellers character, "Mr. Gardner, are you gay?" And Peter Sellers, the character, wouldn't know what gay was to save his life, and he just says, "I like to watch." And the other guy gets so excited. "Oh, I'll get Warren," he says. The rear treatment of the back of the car. Howdy, Friedrich. Did you get the 2 pens? I hope you did. Let me get my coffee and my phone. Kitty. Hofmeister. Do I type in Hofmeister kink? Is that what I type in? Hofmeister BMW. Ah! The Hofmeister kink. Have you seen him on it? I mean, the feature, a low bent forward bend at the C pillar, the D pillar, and I don't know anything of the history of Hofmeister kink. Huh. Do I like that? Do I like that kink? I was describing Friedrich. Good. I'm glad you got that pen. It's not because I didn't want to sell you the pen I had, but the one I would sell you has a lever that has to be replaced. I mean, I have the lever, just the lever ring corroded and broke off, so the lever is loose. So I'm glad you got that pen. It's really a fun. Have you ever owned that pen before? So the silhouette of this pen, this weird Schaefer, reminded me of the part of a car where the rear window and the roof and the side of the car and the door and all of that stuff, this little area here is the weird part of a car where this has to be resolved in some aesthetic way. Maybe they tried doing it like this and it was just too severe, or I don't know what it is that they did, but whatever it is, it always looks like it's like when the two railroad lines meet and they didn't quite match. So they had to, like that to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. So that's, you hate these. See, you thought these were, that's what I likened them to as well. But this particular one is so fine. This nib is so fine that I'm ignoring the dolphin nose. But that's my dolphin picture here. Yeah, well, that's what this part of a car always seems to me to be an afterthought. And I didn't realize that the Hofmeister kink was a BMW thing until Jimmy Bynum explained it to me. So now I have a new term in my little brain. But there's something very, it's very weird. I mean, this pen, it looks like this pen was this pen at one point, but had its leg amputated, so this is a stump or something put on. It just doesn't, like, why do you do it? Well, because this is probably much, much easier to replace and fix than this. So I can understand why they did it. Well, these are much more graceful. Line. And this looks like it was clearly cheaper to create. Is Jimmy still here? Jimmy Bynum. The one on the left you love. This one? Oh, this is the one. All right, this is just one of these. The big honkin' nib. Oh, good. So, Jimmy, do you collect pens as well? And what pens do you collect? And would you like to join me and have your face right here talking? Wow, 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 wow. Or if you haven't combed your hair this morning. Of course, you could be from Timbuktu, wherever that is. So, Friedrich, have you ever had a pen like that before, the Envoy? This is the pen. I was describing the nib that came with this pen the other day and how I hated it. And I thought the nib was going to write like this one. And I finally found a nib like this to put in this pen so I would be happy. Well, my level is a very hard level to achieve. I don't mean that snobbishly, because what I have is quantity. A friend of mine said, Pierre, you don't have a collection of pens, you just have a bunch of them. You have 10 collections, but they're not organized in any sort of way. I have lots and lots of pens, yes, and some of them there's a few pens that very few sophisticated pen collectors would want, but only a few. But I have hundreds of pens that would make a calligrapher or drawer very, very happy. So even though I think my level, if I have a collection that's really amazing, it's the collection of nibs that just happen to be on pens. But even my nibs, I can like a nib like this, which doesn't do much, but what it does really, really well. Oh, Austin, Texas. Well, I can imagine you with a drawl. Is that what they have in Austin? I've been to Austin once in my life, I think. Yes, once. Well, finding, if you don't mind being a Dr. Frankenpen, Friedrich, you can quintuple your chances of finding a nib that you like in that pen. It doesn't hold a regular Skyline nib or even a small Skyline nib. It's a small nib, but what it does fit is a number 3, modern number 3 Sheaffer pen, the ones that are from like Craftsman and pens like that. And they fit perfectly, or the one I did fit perfectly, and I put the perfect nib for that one of the pens in it. The other pens have nibs that just don't seem right for the pen, even though they are the ones that it came with. It's just that pen, because of its delicate weight and the very thin size of it, I thought needed a very, very fine nib. So I put a nib in it that was kind of like this one. But it's really a sweet pen. I like it. And it does too. The Hofmeister kink of that pen, the weird part of that pen is a little bump on the lever, which is where the cap fits. Otherwise, it's a perfect pen. It's cylindrical. There's no threads. It's almost it's like an embryonic stage of a regular pen. It starts out this way, and then it eventually grows a clip, and it grows threads. It sort of hasn't quite developed all the way. And but the only thing that's weird is the lever has a little bump on it right there, a little tiny bump where this side that's closer to the nib is slightly thicker, and it's raised up from the barrel, and that's for the cap to stop. The cap hits when you post the pen. The cap hits on that thing. So that's the Hofmeister kink area of this pen. Where's my Hofmeister kink pen? Where are the pens that I'm trying to fix for myself? No. Yeah, it is like how You know, if you took a regular gold fill wall and put it in the Futurismo machine, that's what would come out. Well, I don't know where. Is this it? Here it is. So it's the Futurismo machine version, but it's that little bump right there, a little bump on the lever. And you wonder, why is that there? But then you put the cap on the back and it stops. Otherwise, it would continue further down, which, you know, what would happen? It would go down another little tiny bit. I don't think they needed to have that there, but they do. They decided that this is as far down as the cap is supposed to go. What kind of nib does this have? See, this nib does not do this pen justice. It's supposed to have a nib that makes a line like this, in my humble opinion. So I might have a nib that will fit it better, but it seems to me I looked for one. Here's another one. This is the one that I was going to sell you. One of these, yeah, this is the one that needs the, it's missing the, okay, so look, because the lever is not connected, you can push this cap all the way down to there. Now, is that such a bad thing? Why did they think that they need to have it stop here? Maybe they felt that if it pushed down too far, it would start wearing here too much. It's supposed to stop here. Let's see, how does this one write? This is not bad. This is, I mean, it's still not right for this pen, but I like this nib a lot. It's springier. This pen doesn't want to do that. This pen wants to be very delicate. Yeah, it might. Yeah, I suppose you could push it down with all your muscles and it would get stuck. But that could happen with any pen, I suppose, if you are a brute. So, Jimmy, are you still here? If there was a way to describe your collection, is there a focus you have? Is it nibs? Is it size? Is it company? See, this dolphin can do tricks. And we know Flipper lives in a world full of wonder, flying there under the sea. Flipper, Flipper. I had a boyfriend for a time being who had a dog named Flipper, who would crawl under the covers and I'd say, John, get the dog out of the bed. And he would grab Flipper and pull him back over my body. So here's the bed. Here's my body. Here's the feet. Here are the little tender bits. And here's the dog. The dog is down here on my feet. John, get the dog out. So he'd pull the dog out this way. And the dog, you pull it up by, his tail or something. I don't know what. But the dog wanted to stay here. So the dog's little bull terrier, fucking bull terrier, miniature bull, anyway, a little bull terrier, was all of his legs were trying to go this way. And John is pulling him this way. And the dog gets to this part of my body where the Hofmeister kink is and did a number on my tender bits. Many old Parkers, lots of dip pens. Oh, wow. From estate sales. I see. Well, I like the dip pen collection. I like the old Parker part, and certainly estate sales are nice, but that's a nice way to get them. Usually you can get them for a few pennies on the dollar, which is always nice to find, quote, bargains, unquote. Sometimes, so when you talk to a collector, they say, I got a blah, blah, blah pen and I only paid $15. I got a blah, blah, blah pen and I only paid $10. I got a blah, blah, blah pen and I paid $1. And I got a blah, blah. And I say, you're not collect pens, you collect bargains. Because that's the factoid that they want me to know is how little they paid for it. They don't say, I have a blah, blah, blah pen with a beautiful, flexible nib and a beautiful name engraved on it, or they don't say I've got a pen that first year Parker 51 with aluminum ends. They say, but they talk about how little they paid, so they collect bargains, not pens. So are you a calligrapher, Jimmy? And are these Soviet star pens, are they steel or are they gold? I have a feeling if they're Russian, they would be steel. But I might be wrong. Hello. Kitty. He's very happy to see you. Yes. Clean this morning. Kitty, I know, Kitty, you're just full of activity. Or steel, okay. Illustration, okay, so what sort of, are you on Instagram, if I can ask that question? I'd like to see your drawings. You do, if you show them to the world. I'm putting up a show right now of urban sketchers, and I'm having a good time organizing it. No, okay. Instagram is too modern for you, is it? I can find you on CB radios. Is that what they were called? I can. What's your Morse code account? What's your telex? No, teletype. Telex. What's your telegraph call sign? I remember there was a show, I forget what it was called. It was the butler to Abraham Lincoln, and who was an African American, though they didn't use that term back in Lincoln's time. But it was it was a very funny comedic show about Lincoln, the president in the White House, and his butler. And it showed someone having telegraph sex. Oh yeah. What are you wearing? And then he'd wait for the response. Oh, yeah. Oh, hot. That's hot. Den 4. Ah, good for you. See, you're a man after my own heart. Screw this Library of Congress. Dewey Decimal it is. And I'm going to use a card catalog if it... My 3/4 roommate is a devotee of libraries and card catalogs, and knows how to use them. I never quite got the hang of it. I just wander down the aisles and find book by pretty covers and look at it, look at the pictures. Do you have a Victrola? You have to have a Victrola. You have to listen to, or maybe an Edison disc. Maybe that's what you have. So Jimmy, I don't know if you've ever been on my stream when I've talked about people having a dinner party with 8 people, and you are one of the 8. So if you could have a dinner party where you'd invite 7 people, and they can be living or dead from any time period, and let's pretend they all speak Esperanto so you don't have to worry about language issues. Which are the 7 people you would invite to have dinner with you? So while you're thinking about that, I will go get my guest book to add you to the list. You're stuck now. You have to do this. You found it. Where was it? It was on the sheet pans. In the oven? Yeah. Oh, fuck. Oh, you know, I thought it would be somewhere like that. Yeah. Yeah. Me too. little phones. So anyway. Okay, see you tonight. Okay, so here's the guest book. I will find, here's the party. Here you are, or I don't know which one are you, but you're having a party. Russell, Todd, Merrill, Benjamin, I don't know who. These people never finished their, these are people who haven't finished. Mikhail Baryshnikov is the waiter. We had to cross him off to add Ellen DeGeneres. So you're going to be right here. So I'm going to, Jimmy Bynum. What pen am I going to use? This paper is rather flimsy and it tears easily, so I want to have a sort of a fat nibbed pen for you. This is a very modern pen. This is, wait, I can't have this pen with you. I have to have an old pen. I'll use this dip pen nib that I got from FX Technol. So Jimmy Bynum. Okay, your list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 is Jimmy. Okay. Are you going to invite Dewey Decimal? Was he a real person, Mr. Dewey, or was his name Decimal? It doesn't have to be a quiet dinner party. It could be rambunctious. You know, Trump, Elon, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Bin Laden, Saddam Hussein. That was going to be a raucous event. Cary Grant, Mae West, Ernest Hemingway, Will Hodge. Okay. Alex Trebek, Lucille Ball, Ben Franklin. So my 3/4 roommate uses one of my iPhones and he could not find it. And I didn't have Find Your Phone on it, but I think I will install that because we looked everywhere for it. And it was in the oven where it belongs. It was in the oven between sheet pans because whenever he cooks something in the oven, we take the sheet pans out and put them on the table. And somehow the phone got placed on top of the table. The phone got on top of the sheet pans on top of the table and put back in the oven. So I knew we'd find it somewhere because I never throw anything out. But I know that he sometimes, as we all do, we sort of get distracted and we put down what we need to. We have in our hands to do whatever emergency we try to do, like catch the cat or do something, and then we get distracted. Okay, come on, Jimmy. We can't. Oh, you did. Whoops. Rodney twice. Buckminster Fuller. Okay, let me just get my ink. Do these one at a time. Buckminster Fuller. He's so modern. Okay, Walter Gropius. So we're talking architecture so far. Charles Birchfield, the artist? Wow. Charles Birchfield. There's a woman in my building that paints a lot like Charles Birchfield, and it's just, I love his paintings, and I never really paid much attention to them before. George Ham, I don't know who that is. Did he make Ham's beer? George Ham. I don't know who George Ham is. Alan Watts. Alan Watts. I don't know who Alan Watts, the comedian? Is that? No. Who am I thinking? Who's Alan Watts? I'm thinking of Alan something. Richard Feynman and Rodney Danger. Oops. Men's Night. George Ham is an artist. Okay, so I have two more. So we've got Buckminster, Gropius, Birchfield, George Ham, Alan Watts, and Richard Feynman and Rodney Dangerfield. So you have to, we have one too many people in your list, and I'm not counting two Rodneys. So we have three people to fill. We have Groucho Marx, Rodney Dangerfield, and Feynman. But we can only pick two of these. So which two do you want? I like the idea of Marx, Groucho, or I think Groucho would be better in a group than Rodney. Rodney's, I don't know, does he have is he a conversationalist? Or does he just do his shtick by himself? It's like he has a billion jokes in his head and he's going to get them out regardless of what the conversation is. Where I think Groucho has the ability to actually listen and respond to what other people are saying. Groucho. Groucho Marx. What's the magic void? That would be fun to have. And Richard Feynman. I would love Richard Feynman at the. He is. I like scientists like him or anyone like him who is excited learning things. And it's like and that's why I think Alan Alda is a good host for the show they used to do, or he still does. I don't know if he still does them. On the science thing on PBS, because it seemed like he actually sincerely was interested. He wasn't just a moderator or narrator. It's like he really was fascinated by what he was being told. And Feynman seems that way. Whereas Teller or everyone else, they're just too serious. So George Ham, I have to look who George Ham is. George Ham. George Ham, actor. George Ham, comedian. George Ham, artist. Artist, you're saying? Oh, is he a poster maker? GeoHam. I look up under. Ah, okay. Is his name Geo or George? His name is George Hamill. Oh, cool. I love posters, poster art. I think it's the the big letters that are part of the composition. I like postage stamps for that reason as well. I had a client who wanted me to do their wedding invitation, and they said they want it to look like a poster. And I got all excited, and I said, okay. And I brought out all my poster books, and I said, well, what sort of posters do you like? Do you like them sort of like this, or do you like them like this? What is it about posters you like? And the mother of the bride was also there. And I said, and I knew that the wording was going to be very traditional wording. Mr. and Mrs. XYZ invite you, request the pleasure of your honor of your company at the wedding of blank, 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 etc. I knew that was the wording. It wasn't going to be like a poster wording where it was going to be Bob and Carol married, or wedding. It was going to be, I'd have to fill lots of words, a lot more words than, and eventually we scrapped that idea, though it could have been done. I came up with all sorts of really fun ways of doing it, where the wedding was going to be in Florida, and there was going to be these palm trees. It could look like a travel poster, with the sunset, and and it was, Mr. and Mrs. blah 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 request the pleasure of your company at the wedding of, and then blah blah blah, the names, and then the date, and then the place and stuff. So it was going to look like a poster from 10 feet away, but nope. It had to be, wording had to be center on center, and a font that was pretty, and so everything sort of. We did end up using a very small drawing of a palm tree, but it was very, delicate by comparison to the other thing. So these are fun. Do you do drawings yourself? You said you do illustrations. Are you willing to let me see some of them? If you were to email them to me, if you were to Pony Express them to me, if you were to use a rotogravure, teletype. I remember seeing a movie about, I think Jimmy Stewart was in it, about some criminal, and they were sending an image of the crook or the murderer to across the country using this newfangled some sort of telephonic thing that spun around and would make little dots, which eventually turned into the face. And it took forever. The music built and built. Of course, we knew what the face was going to look like, or maybe we didn't. Maybe it could be the face of any number of the characters in the movie, but it eventually turned into, no, it can't be him. And then suddenly everything fills into place and the movie ends. The end, everyone's happy. But so if I find one of these machines on eBay, can you use your machine, your version of that, to send me via the phone lines an example of your work? Well, flexible nibs, I mean, the Charles Dana Gibson approach to illustration is what I crave. You know, I love the idea of using hatching and pressured line to create a fun image. And anyway, I have a friend that lives in New York, and I went into his house. First time I met him, I went into his house, and he had, oh, what are these things? I can put that downstairs. Anyway, this guy in New York, who also is a pen collector, pianist, musician, conductor, had a collection of autographs and paintings and stuff. Really interesting collection of things. And he bought from some company in New York that was a place where original art was photocopied for newspapers and magazines. And when they closed, they had all this original art to sell. And he bought for not very much money, I'm sure. I mean, he wasn't buying them from an art gallery, but certainly the people selling them knew what they were selling. But there was a Montgomery, whatever his first name is, flag drawing of Montgomery flag at his desk. Self-portrait, he's at his desk and he's working, and his servant is back here bringing him more ink or something. I don't know what. It was sort of a cartoon. It had a balloon coming out here with "bring me more ink." I don't know what it said, but there was a line that would go from here to here, and another line that would go from there to there, and big, long, perfectly parallel lines made with a dip pen. Here's his bottle of ink. Here's his Hunt, whatever dip pen nib he's using. It's not a fountain pen, because these were India ink. But these lines that go from here to here, and they might have been, like that kind of a line going the crease in his pants legs. These are like 2 feet long. And he's able to move his whole arm and keep these lines parallel. And it was just beautiful. And I didn't realize they were that big. When I saw Saul Steinberg's drawings at a museum, I didn't realize that, you see them this big in magazines or smaller, and I sort of thought that that's how he drew them, but they were big, 2 by 3 feet. And the line that I thought was that long and that graceful was actually 2 feet long. So, do you know my email address? If you go to piergustafson.com, you'll find my email is piergustafsonstudio@gmail.com. You can email them there. Oh shit, I've got laundry in the laundry. Jimmy, I'm talking to you, Jimmy. This was really fun meeting you, and I think we are the Jimmy/Pierre Venn diagram is, I don't know how much we overlap, but there's a lot of overlap happening right there. Your Dewey Decimal thing is there, and my books by color, binding color organization is over here. But we do share illustration and pen and Victrola and things. They're all in here. I'm sure you say tomato and I say tomato. So that's different, but there's a lot of overlap, which is fun. And I sometimes, yesterday I had a really fun time drawing together with with my friend Russell, and as we drew, we talked and made jokes and made bad puns, but it was just fun to when I draw with him to see where the conversation goes. So if you're willing to draw with me, that would be fun too. But I've got laundry to do and stuff to do, so I'm going to have to say goodbye now. But it was very nice meeting you, Jimmy, and thank you for including your uh, guests with me. Yeah, I look forward to seeing them. And think about the idea of coming on board with me. And you don't have to show your face. You just have the camera aiming down like I'm doing here. What I'm doing is I have my iPad holder resting here and held up by this bent hanger. So I can see it because my head is at this level. The screen is down here, but it shows what I'm doing down here. So it's if you have a bent hanger, if you have a regular hanger, bend it, and you can make it work. So see you later. We'll talk. Bye. Bye everyone else.